Hey, this is Blaine. I'm getting at you. I'm from Seattle. You may remember me from The Accused, Toe Tag, The Accused AD. And right now, we're shouting out to Japan Nick's Quarantine Podcast. Come on.
This is an interview with the accused AD and toe tag singer Blaine Cook on February 28th, 2021 by Nick Perkel. Now, Blaine, were you involved in choir or did you take any private singing lessons when you were younger?
I did not. The only musical thing I did when I was young is I played the recorder, like a lot of kids did. That was it. No, nothing musical at all. I mean, when I was in high school, I tried to play guitar. You know, I guess I could in the classroom setting, but I didn't really I didn't have an ear for it.
Now, can you give me a bit of backstory on some of the bands you were involved in before the accused, like 10-Minute Warning and the Fartz?
Yeah, the Farts. That would have been the first band I was in, and we formed just probably right at the tail end of 1980. Just kind of like back then when you just you'd have a bunch of guys and you decide that you were going to be you were going to make a band. So we made a band. I was the singer, and Steve Hoffman, aka Steve Fart, was the bass player, and we were probably the least musical of the group. And then we had a guy named Tom Hansen who played guitar, and he had played in a couple other bands, so he kind of knew how to play guitar. And then our drummer was a guy named Loud Fart, believe it or not, and he was actually more of a guitar player than he was a drummer. And he had been in some other bands as well, so he had that little bit of experience that we didn't have. And we recorded a single that we put out ourselves. Then we had the opportunity to play with the Dead Kennedys a couple of times, and our next record was on the Biafra's Alternative Tentacles label. So we did a couple records on Alternative Tentacles. Everything happened so quickly back then. So looking back, I would think that all this happened over a 5-year span, but it was really just over just a couple of years. And then by the end of 1982, we had a lineup change. We got a new drummer, and that's when we had Duff McKagan play drums with us, and we were still called the Farts. And we recorded 5 songs with Duff on drums, and then we decided to change our name to 10-Minute Warning, and we did that for a little while Steve was still in the band, and then Steve bailed. It wasn't his thing, and then we continued on as 10-Minute Warning with Duff had moved on to playing guitar. And Paul. Then we had gotten Tom Hansen wasn't into the band anymore. We had a guy named Paul Soldier who was our guitar player, and so yeah, Paul and Duff played guitar. David Griggs on bass, and a drummer by the name of Greg Gilmore was playing drums. And Duff and Greg Gilmore had been in another band called The Living prior to that. And then they kicked me out of the band. They continued on as 10-Minute Warning. They went through a whole bunch of different bass players, and then Duff. I don't know how long Duff was still in Seattle after they kicked me out of the band. I don't think very long before he'd moved down to California, and then around the spring of 1984, I got asked to join the Accused, and they were a bunch of younger guys that were living up on Whidbey Island, and so yeah, 1984, yeah, I joined the Accused.
Now, what was like the Seattle music scene like when you first joined the accused, dealing with like the greater arts crowd of people like the Zinesters, your college radio people, and like alt weeklies?
That was kind of like before that. So like when I was doing the Farts, that's kind of like kind of at that tail end of that original kind of punk rock type of the deal, where a lot of those they were kind of like older people, a little bit more on that arty scene. And then by the time we were doing the Accused, that alternative radio, that thing didn't that kicked on like maybe a year or so after that. I think for what we were doing, it wasn't considered to be sophisticated enough. So we were, this is stuff that kids do. The music that we were doing with the Accused, which was kind of interesting. I think still in the if people talk about the Seattle music history, I mean we were doing a lot of stuff that other bands weren't doing, but I don't think we get that respect because we were kind of doing it more for the all ages, doing it for the kids.
So, what were some of your favorite zines and alt weeklies to read back in the 80s and 90s?
Definitely Maximum Rock and Roll. Flip Side was a good one. Your Flesh was a good one. In Seattle, the paper that came out of Seattle was called The Rocket. That was pretty informative. At that point in time, there was just so many zines that were coming out. There was one that was local called Desperate Times. When we were doing the Fartz, there was a guy named Willem Pugmire that did one called Punk Lust. Yeah, I got so many of those.
So, what was the original inspiration for the idea of Martha Splatterhead?
That was so that we would continue to be appreciated by the writers at Maximum Rock and Roll. So we came up with a female killer, kind of a psycho zombie killer, and we figured if it was a female and she was killing men, we would still be able to get some positive words spoken about us at Maximum Rock and Roll, without seeming too sexist or going down any of those roads.
Now, do you remember what it was like writing "M is for Martha" from Grinning Like an Undertaker?
Oh, right. Writing those lyrics. Yeah, because I had to get in the thesaurus and the dictionary to come up with a bunch of words that started with the letter M that were gonna fit into the song, and then coincidentally enough, being able to be watching TV and having a cassette player out where I could have recorded the Sesame Street, M is for, that was a very chance meeting with the tape player and the television.
Personally, what was your favorite Accused album?
My favorite one, I like them all because they're all kind of like a statement or a testament to what we were doing at that point in time. There's definitely the production quality and the recordings that we were able to do changed over the years, but that was just because we learned more. We had the opportunity to work with better people in the studio. I think the one that from a musical standpoint, the one that stands out the most would be the Maddest Stories Ever Told. And just at that point in time, we were able to work with a producer by the name of Terry Date, who went on to do much bigger and better things. And he was really, really well connected. So he was the one that was able to call up Sir Mix-a-Lot, who was a Seattle rapper, to come down and do background vocals with us. And he was the one that was able to call Kurt Vanderhoof, who at that time was in a band called Metal Church, and he came down and played a guitar part with us. I think that recording thing was probably my most favorite. I like that record, but really, I really like all the records.
Well, what was it like hanging out with Sir Mix-a-Lot? Did you guys get to do anything cool or?
Well, later on, after because Maddest Stories was the last record that we did on Combat, and then we got dropped from Combat, and we did a couple of small things. We did a split single, and we did a 12-inch EP, and then we got signed to Sir Mix-a-Lot's label, Nasty Mix Records, which was really really cool at that point in time. We were the only bunch of white guys they had on the label. It was just strictly West Coast Seattle rap that they were doing. And that was really really cool, and they were their label was very very popular. Mix-a-Lot was blowing up back then. One of the coolest things about being on that label was they had a BET, Black Entertainment Television, came out and filmed this party that Nasty Mix threw at the Space Needle here in Seattle. That's fucking cool. But anything that I got to do personally with Mix-a-Lot, nothing. Our bass player, Alex, quote unquote, Maggot Brain Sebald, he in the early 90s was into CB radios, and that was a big thing around here. And Mix-a-Lot was doing the CB radio deal as well, and he was they make these big fucking amps, have these big banks of batteries in their vehicles, and Mix-a-Lot was making a CB amplifier called the Skull Cracker or Skull Crusher. So Alex got to mingle personally with Mix-a-Lot, but I didn't get to do anything. Nothing that I could say I did with him, one-on-one.
Can you tell me about the material recorded for the Accused AD's Ghoul in a Mirror? Like, I know you had two different artworks and mixes for the album. Like, one was for CD and vinyl, and the alternate was on cassette. Can you tell me about just recording that, but also tell me about the clear-cut differences between the two?
Between the cassette version and the vinyl version?
Yeah.
The cassette version has the first draft of the artwork that artist that we work with by the name of Casey Angel, and the cassette version wasn't mastered, which is just something that you do with the music before you send it in to get pressed. They just kind of go through and make sure that everything is right. There's no weird peaks or valleys, and so the cassette version wasn't mixed. It was just it wasn't mastered. It was just kind of the raw stuff that we got after we were done recording, and that came out on Dread Records, and then we did that first because we didn't have anybody. The Dread Records agreed to put it out on cassette before we had somebody that was going to put it out on vinyl for us, and then we had it mastered. We had Scott Hull from he's in Pig Destroyer and Agoraphoric Nosebleed. He did the mastering on that. It just makes it sound, I don't know, heavier or whatever. They can bring out, a few subtle things that don't necessarily come out, when the record's being mixed.
No, I read on Facebook you're going to be doing some recording in May. I know maybe you don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet, but can you give me some hints on some things fans can look forward to?
Yeah, we're gonna record in we're recording in May. Seems to be kind of our traditional time we record. I don't know. We've got six solid songs right now. We haven't really discussed whether or not we're going to release this as the Accused AD or as we're going to do this as toe tag. I don't know. That's just about it. There's 6 new songs. We've got this new drummer that we've been working with for a little over a year, which kind of coincided with not being able to do live shows. So it just seemed that, we still get together and practice every week. So just made sense to work on new material, and that's what we're doing. And we hope everybody likes it.
Can you tell me the names of those songs?
We have one song that's called Paraquat, another song that's called The Witches of 128th. We have one called The Fangs of the Rat, and the other three we don't. I've got halfway lyrics for two of them, but we haven't solidified the actual titles of the songs, as sometimes the titles of our songs don't necessarily have anything to do with the lyrical content. Sometimes we'll come up with a song is going to be called something before we even have words for it, and they might not match up at all, and that's just kind of the way we do it.
Can you tell me about some of your favorite memories from running Zippy's Burgers? And do you have any advice for restaurant owners on surviving right now?
Stick it in there. Yeah, we've had Zippy's now. This is going to be our 13th year. I'm amazed that we're still doing it after 13 years. We're kind of lucky right now is that we are kind of established in the neighborhood and community that we're located. So we've definitely had a decrease in income from the last year, but we haven't had to let anybody go. We stayed open and kept paying our employees. It's just one of those, running a restaurant 101. And that's your staff comes first because they're running the restaurant. You don't always, sometimes you don't get to get paid, and that's just that's how that happens. Favorite things that have happened while we've been operating Zippy's Giant Burgers. Well, much to my wife's dismay, we were featured on a episode of the scripted reality show called Mystery Diners. That was quite an experience, as there's really no mystery about it, because they come in and totally have cameras and lights set up in the whole restaurant, and they have it's I have a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't let out too much of the details. But we were on that. That was funny. They gave us a mascot who liked to go get stoned and drunk, and was being inappropriate with some of the young children. That was pretty cool. And then we also got a spot on a Japanese TV show, which was really, really cool. I can't exactly remember how we managed to swing that, but that was cool. Yeah, they had a crew from Japan came in and did some filming. I know it's been. I don't actually physically work in the restaurant anymore. I just do a little bit of I do the shopping and some light maintenance and a little bit of administrative duties. Can't believe it's still going. So lucky number 13 year. It's going to be better than the last year. I know it.
Now, what would you say is your most cherished musical possession?
My most cherished musical possession, I believe, is a hand-drawn T-shirt for a Seattle band called Malfunction, and one of the guys in the band, drew it on a white T-shirt with colored markers. And Malfunction, they went on later on to be a band called Mother Love Bone. And then, that kind of splintered off, and they had, Green River, and then that, kind of went off into the, directly into the Pearl Jam world. They were one of the precursors to the, what later on became known as the Seattle Sound.
Now, what is the absolute coolest thing you own when it comes to the Accused in your personal collection?
The coolest thing that I own is my Nasty Mix jacket. because back then we were all part of a gang and everybody had to have a jacket, so we were everybody got these kind of black, kind of silky shiny jackets that you would have worn back there in that 1991 1992 time frame, and it had our name was monogrammed on the front of the jacket, and then the back of the jacket had a patch with the big Nasty Mix logo. And I've got that, and I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Now, what are your 3 most hallowed Seattle albums in your collection?
I don't know that I would necessarily call them hallowed. I'll pick three pieces of vinyl that I think are great and have in one way or the other influenced me in musically. And I think the first one, there was one of the original Seattle punk bands called The Lewd, and they had a single called Kill Yourself. I would listen to that over and over and over again. And then not too long after that one came up, I met up with these guys, and they were in a band called Soldier, and that's where Paul Soldier played guitar in the band Soldier, and they put out their they put out a single all by themselves. That was so inspirational, because that's what you did when you were in a punk band. You put out your own records, and that would prompted me to continue to self-release records up until now. So that Soldier single, that Lewd single, and then a couple of years later, as things kind of started getting heavier, there was a local band that was called Queensryche, and the first EP that they put out, I thought was a pretty monumental piece of heavy metal from the Seattle area. And then lastly would have to be the Sir Mix-a-Lot 12-inch that he did for the song Posse on Broadway, where he's driving around Seattle and just talking about all the stuff that he's seeing. And it's it's not like that in Seattle anymore, but it sure was when he put that song out.
What was your favorite urban legend or ghost story about Seattle?
I don't know that there is one. Up here in the Pacific Northwest. Not really an urban legend or ghost story. It's the truth. We had Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. We had Ted Bundy was up here in the Pacific Northwest. The story of D.B. Cooper, who had hijacked a plane going in between Seattle and Portland, and he parachuted out with a bunch of money, and they never found him. I think maybe they supposedly found the money some years later, and that's probably still one of the biggest mysteries up here, not necessarily in Seattle, but in the greater Pacific Northwest. Although there's supposed to be some, Bigfoots up here in the mountains, but, I don't know. And I guess some of the first UFOs were spotted over Mount Rainier in the 40s, but, it's kind of before my time.
Would you like to go back to any questions?
I don't know. Would you like? I mean, it's a lot of questions, so sometimes I'm always afraid I'm not giving enough information, or
I don't know. I guess for you, what did you enjoy, or what songs did you enjoy the most from recording A Ghoul in a Mirror?
I like the song A Terrible Tale. Was a good one. I like the song And the Devil Walks. It was a great that was a great recording session. The only problem that we had was the fellow that was drumming for us at that point in time. Kind of wanted to do things his own way, and I think there's some of the songs that were pushed along a little bit too hard, and I think he overplayed the drums on some of the stuff, which sometimes vocally I'm trying to project myself, but it's I'm trying to like sing over the drums, and that sometimes gets to be a little much.
Okay.
And I
Now,
like the song. A Comfort of Death was another one that I liked as well. That one we just actually just had a video put out for that. I don't know, about a month ago.
final words.
Final words. Here's to 2022. Let's just hope that everything's going to work out, and the world's gonna open back up, and people are going to be level-headed and find their inner peace, and hopefully we will see some of the changes that so greatly need to happen um, in this country and around the world.
Thank you very much. This has been an interview with Blaine Cook on Sunday, February 28th, 2021 by Nick Perkel.